Welcome to the Launch Button Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors who found the courage to hit the launch button and take control of their destiny. Join me, Hugh Zaretsky, best-selling author, seasoned real estate investor, and serial entrepreneur, as we dive deep into inspiring stories and invaluable lessons that will empower you to break free from the ordinary and pursue your true passions. Are you feeling trapped in a job that drains your passion and leaves you yearning for more? Are you ready to accelerate your business and or real estate investing to take it to the next level? It's time to ignite your dreams and embrace the limitless possibilities that life has to offer. Get ready to launch into the life you've always desired by pressing the launch button. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Button Podcast. Today, I've got an amazing speaker with us. I've known him for over 8 years in the health, wealth, and champion mindset here. And Mr. Ron Williams that we have here today has a very unique story where he started out not so big and strong, but became so over time. He's officially the only person that's a 7-time Mr. Universe, 7-time Mr. Olympiad, 7-time world champion, and was the bodybuilder of the decade. And I remember seeing him on magazines when I was growing up because I wanted to be like him. And now I get to interview him. See, it all comes full circle. So Ron, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your humble beginnings.
Well, my name is Ron Williams, and I am privileged to know Mr. Hugh Zaretsky. And we've had 8 years together, and it's been real fun, man. I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and had really, really humble beginnings where I wasn't necessarily given away, as a child. I wasn't necessarily adopted or in a foster care center, but I was just basically dropped from house to house, went to about 12, 13 schools, just to say that I was passed around. So really never really established a family in that family unit. So that created some real problems for me. I remember being touched as a child the way a child should never be touched. I remember a lot of negative things that happened. And one of the things that was like imprinted in my mind is I remember someone told me, you'll never be anything and you'll never amount to anything. You'll be dead or in jail before you're 18. And the way that my life was going, that seemed to be true. But I developed a relationship with God, and that whole situation turned around. Before you know it, I found myself, I couldn't read until I was 28 years old. I found myself at 28 making this shift in my life. After making that shift in my life, I started writing books, became 21-time world champion, became a college professor. And Hugh, this is going to knock your socks off, man. In June of 2025, I have my doctorate degree, man.
That is awesome.
Man, I didn't graduate with my class. I went into the military and I got an equivalent, a high school equivalent, ended up getting a college diploma teaching exercise and nutrition. And I thought, man, what would it be like to have a doctorate degree? And next year, a few months from now, I have a doctorate degree. Man, that's funny to me.
So I gotta call you Dr. Ron Williams now in the future.
Dr. Ron
I'm
Williams.
gonna call you Dr. Ron.
No,
right?
yeah. Or you could just call me, hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Doc. And I don't know if you guys caught that, right? Ron, you didn't start learning how to read until when? You were
28 years old.
28 years old. And now he's taken it so far that he's become a doctor and gone through all of the education because he's so passionate about what he does now. And that is helping people build that champion mindset, that champion body as well to go along with it. So I know you've worked with lots of different clients, and out there right now in the industry is all these different fad diets and all these different things that people are doing. And I know you've got a specific formula that you've worked on based on body types. So tell everybody a little bit about how that got started and how they can look to change here in 2025.
One thing that happened, because I developed the title of Mr. World, Mr. Universe, and all that stuff, companies would ask me to come in and set up a program for their company. And I had a real struggle with that because one size does not fit all. And not everybody wants to be Mr. Universe, nor does everybody want to work on Mr. Universe's program. Most people, I was asked this question, for years and years and years. What does it take to be Mr. Universe? And I would say, okay, you want to know what it takes to be Mr. Universe? And I would give them this diet and nutrition. But what they were really asking me, Hugh, was what mindset did it require for you to become Mr. Universe? I don't want to be Mr. Universe. I don't want to get on the stage, but I want to be Mr. Universe in my own world. I want to be Mr. Universe in my own world. What mindset did it require for you to be able to accomplish that? So when I began to realize that question, it changed my whole thought process. And I started putting together programs to help them facilitate what they needed and what I did could transfer and help them because the principles are basically the same. Are successful principles. But what they needed to know if they wanted to decrease body fat, how do I do that? If they wanted to put on muscle, how do I do that? If I want to get leaner, how do I do that? My health is suffering. So what kind of program do I need to be on? So what we did is we developed 4 different programs, and whatever their desire is, according to their body type, we have a program that's specifically designed for their goals and also teaches them the mindset to actually accomplish it. And the thing about the body, it is a how can I say it? It's a self-preservation mechanism. And if you put it in an environment and you change that environment, the body will change. The body is smarter than we are. If you put it in an environment, if you starve it, it'll do whatever it requires to survive. Let me give you a good example. If you want to build muscle, the body says, when you're doing exercise, it micro tears the muscle, actually injures the muscle. So, and it swells up. That's the blood pumps to that muscle. So now that that muscle's been injured, the body's mind turns on and says, if you keep doing that kind of activity, I've got to change and repair so that I can survive. So that torn muscle repairs and it builds. You feed it, you rest it, and you work it again. It repairs and it rebuilds. It's only doing what it requires to survive. So how can I create an atmosphere to force that muscle to respond the way I want to? If I want to be a marathon runner, put it in an atmosphere that's conducive for a marathon runner. If I want to be a bodybuilder, put it in that atmosphere. And then last but not least, our bodies are prone to be one way or another. Michael Jordan, he could never get on stage and be the bodybuilder that I could be because of my genetics. But he could definitely build his body. I could never get on the basketball court and leap from half court and dunk the ball. My body's not made for that. But if I put myself in that environment, I could get a lot closer to it.
100%. Part of it's talent, but part of it's genetics. But a lot of it, like you said, is mindset, whether it's business, health, whether it's wealth, whether it's real estate, all of the different things. It really is that mindset of people being like, hey, I got to go do this. And that's the biggest thing because I've watched you challenge people. Funny story with Ron and I, we met back in 2016. We've spoken internationally in Mexico and things like that. I even got to throw him in a headlock one time just to see him smile like that because Ron did not like to smile for the longest period of time. He was always the tough guy in the photos. So we've got lots of those too. But I came to Utah one time, and I don't know if you remember this, and you were training some people, and Ron's like, okay, we're going to go out there and we're going to do a 400 meter, but we're going to do it doing lunges. And your knee has to touch the ground every single time. And it has to be perfect form. Otherwise, you go back. That step doesn't count, and you got to do that. And just to see how far you could push the human body, who would actually follow through and who would do it. And it was a race between the people there. And, I wouldn't quit. It wasn't fun, but I wouldn't quit. And we made it all the way through. Let me tell you, the next day was not so much fun getting off the plane after doing that.
I do remember that, man. I do. That was some years ago, but I remember it. And I remember talking to the, hey, that one doesn't count. But oh, Hugh is the competitor. I mean, you're the one that if anybody can do it, you're going to make sure it's you.
So with that saying, I know you like to push people, but how do you push people mentally to stay in that mindset? Because there's so much negativity out there, whether it's politics, whether it's diet, words, and everything like that. Family members, we're coming into a new year. Everybody's got the New Year's resolutions. Woo, woo, woo. How do you help people keep those going forward with that mindset?
Well, one thing is you find out what really makes them tick, man. You find out what makes them tick. Everybody has the ability to overcome whatever their challenges are. But first, you've got to identify what the challenges are and be really, really what is your motive? Why are you doing or why are you trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish? And if you can tap into that and get the person doing what you need them to do long enough, you create a habit. And then that actually changes the dynamics of their thinking process, and they develop fixed cycles and habits that it's easier. It becomes like breathing, but you've got to be able to tap into what causes them to move, what makes them tick. I'll give you an example. I had a girl, she was a Christian girl, and she says, I just want my body to look like this, look like this. And I said, why? Because I'm a Christian. I want to have a body that God wants to dwell in. I said, that sounds good, but that's not the truth. What's the real truth? Well, the real truth was she wanted to be able to the beach and take her clothes off and have this bikini on, and everybody just look at her. That was the real motive. So if that's the real motive, the real key is finding out the truth. Because if we're pushing and we're saying this is our motive and this is what we really want, and it's not, take us very far. We're not passionate about that. If you're struggling in your health and you have diabetes, high blood glucose, or you tingling in your feet or your fingers, and that is your real motive, man, I'm afraid I don't know where this is headed. Then we can use that as the core and get your mind wrapped around that. Do some studying and some background and say, this is the worst case scenario for you. If you continue on this path, this is going to be the outcome. And I keep that in front of you, dangling in front of you as we're going through this process. When you start seeing the results and those results get better and better and better, it makes it easier to stay on the program. My goal is to get you results as quickly as possible because that's what motivates you to continue. If you can get really, really good results, it makes you want to keep going. And if you've got a mindset and I can get you to focus long enough to develop that habit, then your mind clicks and it turns into, uh, you start to become that athlete that you desire to become, because what requires to be an athlete and to look like an athlete is to don't start doing a little bit of what that athlete does. So even though you're not competing, you develop this athletic mindset and you become actually an athlete because that's the way you think now.
It's so true, right? It's that thinking, like when I used to see you on magazines and I was this very thin guy, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, if people can do that, I can do it. And I just started working out and started to follow your routines on the magazines way back in the day, and to follow that and the nutrition. I know I was always super slim, so I always had to take lots of supplements and things like that. But how many days
Yeah.
does it take to sort of change that mindset do you typically see? Because there's different studies out there around that. I know it's going to be different for people, but about how many days of being consistent? We call it consistent daily action here. It might be boring, but you're doing the same thing over and over and you're moving towards your goal. As long as you're getting 1% better every day and you're moving towards that, you're moving in the right direction. But about how many days do you see that it takes for people to sort of have that set in?
That's a really good question, man. I mean, beautiful question. To be really honest with you, the first 21 days of what we do is really a detox. And the reason why we detox, because we have fat loss resistant chemicals and muscle resistant chemicals that actually interfere with the neurotransmitters. So the first 21 days, those fat loss resistant chemicals, they resist the body's effort to decrease body fat. And they're really, really good at it. You have to expel them. And if you don't, you may lose weight, but you'll put it right back on. And a fat loss resistant chemical, what it does, once it goes into the body, as I said, is a self-preservation mechanism. So the extra fat that you have, as soon as you eat that chemical, the body absorbs it into itself. And so now that fat has a right to be there. And I mean, you can't force it to leave as long as that toxin is there. So you fight and you struggle and you struggle and you struggle, but a certain amount of fat your body has a right to maintain because of that chemical. When you get rid of that chemical, the fat that it's attached to follows it out of the body. The fat absorbs it for three reasons. We have fat in our body for three reasons. One is our body temperature to keep us warm and the second reason is it's 9 calories to every gram of fat, even on your body. You may not ingest fat, but you still have food. You may not ingest the food, but the fat that you're carrying is food, and the body, starts to accumulate this fat for famine. And then the third reason we have fat, this is really, really powerful. Our body is heated by the fat, the body is temperatured by the fat, and then the body absorbs to protect itself. So if we can do a detox, get rid of a fat cell detox, not a kidney cleanse, not a liver detox, but a fat cell detox for 21 days. The first 21 days is not to lose weight, but to get rid of those fat loss resistant toxins. Consequently, we have people lose 7 to 30 pounds and never be hungry that first 21 days. That's not our goal though. But now we're starting to click and we're trying to build this habit. We take the first 21 days, get rid of the fat loss resistant toxin. The second 21 days is to start developing this thought process. The third 21 days, we use that to build the habit. So you've got really 66 days that you've spent consistently. And that's the key, being consistent. If you start trying to build a habit and you're inconsistent, the body and the mind registers the inconsistency and it doesn't develop that mindset or that fixed cycle that actually constitute change of habit.
Crazy that it takes 66 days, we're saying 66 days to go through that process.
Average 66 days. But think about it. If you do something consistently for 66 days, you've lost that first 21 days, 30 pounds, and you're starting to say, wow, I look different. Having to get a new wardrobe and feel better. I breathe better, got more energy. 44 days, you're like, man, 44 days ago, I didn't feel the way I feel now. Then you hit the 66 days. I'm not going back. I love this. Look, see my abs now, got some biceps going. I look good. People are, complimenting me. I feel better about myself. And it's hard to go back once you've done it the right way. But if you hate every minute of what you're doing, man, it's just a matter of time you're going back.
Yeah.
I can go one more day. Willpower, it requires more than willpower. You have to get a mindset. And for me, what really helped me is, Hugh, I really didn't love working out. I didn't love it. And if you say, come on, let's work out because we love it, that's not going to motivate me. You're going to lose me as a workout partner. But if you told me this, you say, Ron, if you work out, you could win. Winning was the thing for me. I love to win. There's a song, all I do is win, win. So Hugh, winning was a motivation for me, and just so happened I had to work out in order to win.
Yeah.
So, and one of the reasons why I became a Christian, because I got tired of losing spiritual battles, man. So I had to get on the right team so I could continue to win in every area of my life.
Oh, I know you love to win. We've had some competitions where you stacked it against me that very first time here in New York City when we worked out in Central Park. And Ron has this awesome invention, the Iron Chest Master. I still have it. I think I just broke the bands the other day, so I got to reach out to you to get some new ones. But he put down 2 Iron Chest Masters in front of us and said, all right, let's go. And Ron and I are both highly competitive people. So I was like, as many as Ron can do, I can do. But he gave me his with these black bands on it. And of course, I don't know any difference. I've never seen it. And he did the ones with the red bands. And you could see him laughing because he knows he set it up. And his wife was videotaping it. Too bad it was way back in the day, probably 2017. We don't have that video anymore. But it'd be hilarious to see because he just watched me. He was like pumping them out super easy. There I am struggling. And he's just laughing. And Tanya's laughing. Finally, she...
Yeah, man. The funniest part about that, Hugh, was I was not just laughing. I was just, oof. Come on, Hugh, keep up with me, man. Come on, keep up. And you're going, you just kept going and kept going, not realizing that the bands you had 30 pounds more resistance than mine had, plus the extra weight on it. And it was funny to watch you not give up, not quit. You went further than you would have went if 100%. I would have done it.
That's why I love competitions. Like you and I love that, right? Because like we get into that competition mindset, and it's not even about beating the other person. Half the time, it's beating ourselves. Right? We got to create those
Yeah.
competitions. We got to create those streaks. With that, now I just want to shift for 1 second because I've seen some of your programs, and I've seen you help some people get off medication. But everybody says you can't get off medication, right? I saw it was some people get off diabetes pills, insulin, those types of things. Why is it believed out there in the universe that we've got to take pills in today's world to solve something versus change the diet, change the body? And talk a little bit about how you've helped get off those medications.
Okay. First of all, it's again, we go right back to mindset. We've been taught and trained in our society that when you hit a certain age, you're old and you've got to be on medications. If you go to a doctor and you're 50 years old and you're not taking the medication, you're an anomaly. You know, they say, are you on any medications? No. Are you sure? I mean, do you take this? I mean, everybody's on medication. So it really is a mentality and a thought process. Years ago, we didn't have even these medications that they have today. We were more healthy. And Hippocrates had a saying that your food will be your medicine and your medicine will be your food. And if we eat different and we have different lifestyles, we won't need the medication, man. So what happens is the people that as soon as they start to figure out or see that they have high blood sugar, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, immediately they run to the doctors, and immediately the doctors give them medication because and some of the doctors are well-meaning. They've been trained to do that. But what we have found is that when we develop this healthy lifestyle, and it's not always about not eating foods that are fun to eat, but eating the proper combinations, man. Because if you eat a banana by itself, it'll spike the blood glucose level, force the pancreas to release the insulin. The insulin brings the blood glucose level down, but you have these extra molecules that are turned into triglycerides and pumped directly into the fat cells. But if you took that banana and you had something with the banana, you had an essential fatty acid, maybe even some nuts, some pecans, and you had 3 eggs. You're eating, but your body utilizes those calories in a productive way, and it doesn't spike the blood glucose level because when you add fat, protein, and fiber, it brings that food down on the glycemic scale. So you don't release as much insulin because you don't get the blood glucose spike. Simple things like that uh, throughout your day. Instead of eating 3 huge meals, break them down into 6 smaller meals. And when you do that and you exercise, you just those small things like that will change your world, man. It'll change your whole world. But people take these medications and they continue with what the doctor says because they're professionals and they just don't know. They just don't know.
Well, you're becoming a doctor, so now you can be like Dr. Ron says this.
Dr. Ron, you got Dr. Phil, you've got Dr. Drew, now you got Dr. Ron.
There you go. Awesome. Now we are going to go a little deeper on nutrition and Ron on the private podcast. So make sure you guys go to the launchbuttonpodcast.com. Make sure you log in there, get yourself set up. You'll have the bonus podcast there. But coming back to this, now you've transitioned bodybuilder, champion mindset, and now you're speaking on stages all over the world. And you just got a chance to speak in 2024 for just before this. So tell us a little bit about that experience speaking on the stage in Paris to the Olympic athletes.
Well, one thing, what happens with the Olympians is there are over 11,000 Olympians that actually are preparing to go to the Olympic Games, but we only see a couple of hundred of those. So a lot of these Olympic athletes, this is their last shot. And some of them you never even get an opportunity to see, but they've started off. Man, it's incredible. I didn't realize this so much. If I would have thought about it, maybe it would have mine. But some of them started at 3 and 4 years old in the sport that they participated in. And what I didn't think about is that's all they know. They don't know anything about business. They don't know anything about the real world. All they know is their sport. They've completely committed themselves to being the best at the sport that they participate in. So now they compete, they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and competitive years are over, and they never got a chance to really get in the limelight. And their parents would go as far as getting second mortgages on their house to make sure they got the proper training. But now, no more autographs, no more, and they're just a regular Joe. What's almost, Hugh, it's almost like a sharpshooter in the military. He's really good. He's a sniper in the military. But once he gets out of the military, we don't need his skills on the streets. We don't want him going out shooting people. So with these athletes, when they get out of that competitiveness or the competitive world, all they know is the skill that they have in that sport. What do? They haven't developed anything else. So what I've done is I've gone from the ghetto to being a world champion to being an entrepreneur. So my job is to transfer and to be able to, because I understand the mindset and I understand the fact that they have skills that they don't know about. And how can we transfer those skills into the entrepreneurial world? For example, if you're a sniper in the military, you have the ability to stay in the same spot doing the same thing for hours and hours and hours. Not very many people are capable of doing that. Athletes are capable of going through pain and suffering for a long time without giving up and quitting because they can see what's going to happen at the end of the road. So they have this longevity, they have this stick-to-itiveness that many entrepreneurs don't have because they've never been pushed that far. They've never been tested that deep. So they've got different skills that other people that are entrepreneurs don't have never reached the level that they've reached. So how do we transfer those? That's my job. This is how you do it. So, and these principles, Hugh, transfer into every area of your life. Say, for example, with me and my wife, see, I know how to suffer. Friend is a pain. Friend is not an enemy to me. Pain is a friend. It's not an enemy. I learned how to, I ran the 400 meters, the 200 meters, and the 100 meters. The only reason I ran the 400 meters because they needed me to. But my legs are short. You see how short my legs are short and big, and they're only supposed to go 200 meters, and then they're supposed to stop. But they needed a 400-meter runner for the relay team, and I had to run the 400 open. So I would run the 400-meter, Hugh, and most people, when they got to the 300 mark, the monkey would jump on their back, and they, oh, oh, oh. But I trained my mind that when I hit the 300 mark, instead of slowing down, that's where I pick up speed. So I'm going to stay with the group until we hit 300, and then I'm going to turn it on. It was just the mindset. And their mindset was, man, when we get to 300, whatever's left, I'm just going to lay it out there. No, whoever manages the pain the best is the one who wins. So if I'm going through something with my marriage and it's painful and it's hard, I don't quit. I don't give up. This is painful. This is where I live. Pain is a friend, not an enemy. Okay, how do we work through this? How do we push through this wall? We don't just give up and quit. So that's been a real benefit in my marriage. It's been a real benefit in my business. It's been a real benefit in fitness. But it can be transferred. So that was and Paris was just for man to watch the whole world come together and cheer for the athletes. And I'm going to tell you, all over the world, they just love America. Regardless of what we see in the news, they cheered for America no matter what, man. America, America.
Awesome. And it's so true of our military members, our people that are former athletes. I love coaching them because you actually tell them what to do and they do it. And it's that CDA, that consistent daily action. They'll do it over and over and over until they get it right. Because that's their mindset. Other people are like, why should I do this? It's like, no, go do it first. And then we'll explain the why. And you're going to learn on the journey. So I love, work with some, actually doing a trip to Africa. I don't know if you know this. We'll talk afterwards about this with a guy that's a SEALs trainer, trained all the Navy SEALs. And he's going to go with us on that trip. And and some stuff like that in August of this year. So there's some really cool stuff, but they just have that mentality of, yep, we're going to get through it. It's going to suck and then it's going to get better. It's going to suck and then it's going to get better. And I think that's a great mentality for people out there. So as we go into 2025, what is the big plan for Ron? What's a stage you want to be on? What's a dream you've got for this year? Oh, and by the way, hold on, let me digress. I love your wife, by the way. She's on. I got that picture of the three of us at that Christmas party where you're squeezing us together, and I just love hanging out with your wife. So hopefully we get to see more of you guys this year. I know she loves Disneyland and Disney World and loves to go to those places.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, one thing, she goes to Disney at least 4 times a year. We had 2 kids work at Disney World. We have one that's working there right now. She actually got married in Disney World. She went to the college program in Disney World, and now they're working there. And Disney World is where Tanya grew up, and she was one of the first ones to have the Disney Vacation Club. So Disney World is her thing. And I believe the reason why she loves Disney so much is because she's worked her whole life since she was 12, 13 years old. And it gives her a chance to be a child because she didn't get a chance to be a child when she was younger. So it's a real pleasure to watch them. I don't go so much. I let them go.
I know that.
Please don't make me go to Disney World, please.
You and I go work out. They'll go over there. Right?
Yeah.
We don't create a competition. We'll help some entrepreneurs. But now just tell her I love her and pass on my love and everything. For you, for 2025, as we go into this, what is something that you want to achieve? Maybe an audience member out there can do it. Maybe we can help facilitate something for you. Do you have a goal for 2025?
2025, what my compiled everything, and we're finding a way. All of the equipment that I've created and developed, we actually have 5 patents now, and with those works those out, so I can do what I really, really love. I've developed tremendous love for people, for to see them get the results that they're looking for. I see so many programs that are out there that are well-meaning. I've gotten tremendous results, even with alone. You're familiar with Renatus.
Yep, that's where we
10,000 pounds we've lost. So 10,000 pounds. So it's not 10,000 people that we've touched in Renatus, but 10,000 pounds lost in this one company. So if you took Renatus back in those days before we worked with them, they had a lot extra. Now that it's leaned down, not in people, but in size. So you could fit them in a smaller space. But this year, our goal is to get out and to speak and to get in front of people and to get them on programs that are going to be effective at helping them change their life and making them better people. That's my contribution to the world. I mean, I really, God has really been good to me, Hugh. And I just developed this love I haven't always had a love for people because I was hurt by so many different people when I was younger that I thought all people were the same. They just want to hurt you. But man, at 28 years old, things shifted and changed. And from that time, I've been growing and growing and growing. And I got this tremendous love for people and to help them. I told you that, working out wasn't a great motive for me. I didn't really love working out. I love to win, and I still love to win. And the way I win today is every time someone else reaches their goal, it's a win for me. That's what motivates me, winning. And if I can help somebody win, I win. Yeah, because I can live through them vicariously. Every time we reach our goals, I win. Yeah.
Well, we both love winning and we both love helping people. So we're definitely going to do some stuff here in 2025. We just got to figure out a plan so that we can help more people hit their goals and everybody wins, because that's truly what it is. It's not about ego. It's about working together as a team to get the best results. And in today's world, teamwork is key, because we're not all good at certain things. People are definitely better at other areas, and to leverage those to reach your goals. So here in 2025, as you're watching this podcast, make sure you get plugged into Ron's stuff. We'll have all the links down below. We'll show you how you can join the program, get you all set up for that. And let's make sure you win and you hit your goals in 2025. We're going to hop over to the private podcast. where we're going to talk with Ron a little bit deeper on the nutrition, on how we can get people started at the beginning of the year, where he talks about his first 21 days. So if you want that, again, go to launchbuttonpodcast.com. Make sure you create an account there, and then you'll get access to the vault where we got all the private podcast recordings. So remember, consistent daily action leads to success. Take one more step, one more opportunity, say yes to it, and life starts to open up for you. We'll see you on the next episode of the Launch Button Podcast. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.